Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
My question is, I have been present when some physical things happen, dog jumping in your face, you cutting into your finger. What is your relationship with your body, and has spiritual practice had an impact on that?
Well, my relationship with my body is much different than it was, say, a while ago. Let's say in my 40s. I don't know how much spiritual practice has benefited that, although it's something that I've done consistently now for decades. I think with the issues you described, what has supported me most was my military service, was my paramilitary service, which was my athletic training, and my military service, and then my service in combat. Because I was put into situations where it didn't matter what my mind was telling me. I just had to go. I couldn't hesitate, I couldn't delay, I had to go. And it didn't matter what happened to me, I had to go. And so that's somehow still sustains me. I didn't cut into my finger, I shattered it. It was like sideways, you know. These I cut into. These were also, the bones were damaged, but not like this one. But even when this happened, it was like, you know, the most important thing for me to do is, at that moment, was to get a clean cloth that I could wrap it up to stop the bleeding. You know? And just then do the next thing. Take care of what's next. The one person that was there when it happened called the ambulance. I said, no, don't call the ambulance. I said, call Daishin. Yeah. Because in those kind of circumstances, in those moments, and Daishin will trust because of his background. And interestingly enough, when you all got me to the hospital, I think probably 60% of the people who cared for me were also prior military. So it was very interesting. But I think, yes, in that instance, so in that instance, my military training and experience has served me. I will say that in my 40s, I was racing triathlons professionally, and I was training really hard, but I couldn't gain anything. I couldn't gain any. I wasn't picking up time. I wasn't getting stronger, and someone suggested that I see a nutritionist. I thought they were nuts, but I did it anyway. And it wasn't until I was like 40 years old that I really understood that I did not know how to eat. I knew how to put food in my body, but I didn't know how to eat. I didn't know how to nourish my body. And I remember when the first or second meeting I had with this woman, I was in tears. but it was also during this period of time that I began to develop a different relationship with my body. So I had to distinguish between the pain of injury and the pain of getting in condition, or the pain of going beyond what the limits that my body was accustomed to. And so I didn't have that in my military training. They didn't encourage that. With the support from the nutritionist and also not using intoxicants and getting therapeutic support, they helped me a lot with all these things. Yeah. But I body image is an issue. Body image is an issue for me. It was then. I remember they showed pictures and they said, okay, pick your picture out. And the one I picked out was much different from the reality. Yeah. The one I picked out was much fatter than I really was. And I'm okay with it today because it supports me to not get lazy, to stay fit. Because it is important to me to take care. Yeah. Question? Yes, Myoko Nenyo Zen.
I'm wondering if you ever went through a period where you intentionally denied yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
What can you share more about what?
Yeah, it was all about control. For me, it was all about feeling out of control, not knowing that I was feeling out of control, but feeling out of control, and using that. In my case, it was food. I just would stop eating, and that was a way for me to feel like I was in control of my environment. That happened to me in the early years when I had first stopped using intoxicants. I hadn't yet really begun to work with how deeply I was affected by the war, but I was working with, I was beginning to acknowledge and process the abuse that I received as a child and that I witnessed. And so I just would stop eating. Daily. I mean, when I was preparing to receive my novice ordination, that took place in Poland at the concentration camp Birkenau, and I was sitting in the selection site. It was in between the two railroad tracks, and the process that I was instructed to go through in preparation for the ordination was that I would sit in the selection site from sun up until sundown. This was in December. And I would recite, I would think I was reciting the Heart Sutra in Japanese, and not eating or drinking water from sun up to sundown. I did that for 4 days in preparation. And it just wasn't an issue for me because I had already, I understood denying myself. Let's see, are there any other? Off the top of my head, there's nothing else that I can come up with outside of that. That's the most predominant one for me. Yosin.
The violence that you experienced from your parents as a child, did this lead to a dynamics that you don't trust into people or have difficulties to trust? And if so, how did you deal with it?
The experience I had with adults, period, as a child. But the trust wasn't so much about that. Although there is some connection there. The real major issue with trust was trusting myself, because I didn't have the environment I grew up in was pretty chaotic. I didn't have a lot of adult support around me. The adult support I had was not the healthiest. And so I was left to make my own decisions. So from age 12 on, I was making my own decisions. And so I wasn't making good decisions. I just didn't have the information. I didn't have the guidance. So I was just sort of making stuff up I wasn't even a real teenager yet. And so the major issue I had with trust was trusting myself. Trusting in the decision. Now I could always blame other people, but that's pointless. It became pointless after a while. I understood, it's me I don't trust. And so I had to begin to get the kind of support and guidance that was important to me so that I could learn to begin to trust myself, to trust the decisions that I made. And yes, and this all began with my not using intoxicant, stopping and staying stopped, and looking at the other forms. Once I put down the obvious forms, look at the other forms that I was grabbing onto. Yeah. Questions? Tension.
What is your experience in everyday life with this so-called wisdom? I mean, do you experience it, find it, or never, or?
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I just don't. Question, Patrick, and then Peter.
What is a delusion?
No. You asked me that last night, and I said, you need to sit with that for a while, and you need to come back to the interview with your response to that. I gave you that last night. Wow. Peter?
For a human being is the realm of action in the absolute and the realm of ideas and words in the relative. Is that a good way to kind of think about those two concepts?
Give me your definition of the absolute again.
Well, just from the book, Opening the Hand of Thought.
Yeah.
He defines the absolute as what the reality of the world
truth.
Is. Truth, yes.
Yeah, not the idea of it.
Yeah, and the relative is the realm of ideas, of perception, how we perceive things. So action would be like in direct contact with truth. If I walk off the building, I'll just fall down. That would be my truth then.
Yes, if you didn't, I would be curious about that, but yes.
Even if I thought it. So I'm just
even if you thought you could.
Between I'm just trying to figure out, because I've always struggled with that particular concept, and to me that really makes sense. I just want to make sure that it's correct.
Yeah, but one of the other things I would say is stop struggling. These realms are coexisting. We live predominantly in the world consumed by the relative. The world of right, wrong, good, bad, yes, no. In the absolute realm, there is only truth. And the examples of that are quite simple. You just described one. That's the truth of gravity. We can have all the theories and ideas that we want about gravity as it exists here. And we step out of that 7th floor window. Truth is going to show itself to us in a multitude of ways. So, for me, practice is a lot about not chasing after the absolute realm. It just exists. But looking at the ways in which I have been conditioned, the narratives I've been fed, the way I've been conditioned to view the world, my perceptions of it. So the moment I have an idea or a certain perception, while I trust in that, I also don't grab it as an absolute fact. I hold on to it, and then it's about allowing processes to unfold. So, there was recently, there are a number of examples of that in my life. What I've gained from practice is patience. And patience allows me to watch, to become the observer of my thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, watch how I respond to different circumstances. I don't censor myself, so I don't, if I need to take an action, I take an action, but then I also watch the results of that. And I can see, okay, well, what worked, or what didn't, yeah? And then what didn't work, I can polish that. And the way I usually polish it is like, I understand what didn't work, so it's just stop doing that stuff. Yeah, mostly. But the absolute realm cannot be perceived intellectually. The moment we begin to attempt to perceive it intellectually, we've already drug it right into the relative realm. But it can be experienced. Yeah. Go ahead, Oliver.
Why is chastity important?
I don't do why questions.
Okay.
There's
How
no answer.
come? Say how come.
There's no response.
What is the importance? Like, why is it significant?
There wasn't.
For what reason is there a precept about chastity?
Chase conduct.
Yeah.
Read the precept. Read the precept again and just sit with that. You know, accepting love and friendship without clinging.
Yeah. I'm just curious about like the aspect of Buddhism that is like, why, like, in your opinion, it's important to be celibate. Like,
there's nothing about celibacy in that.
Okay. I thought
it says accept love and friendship without clinging.
Okay.
In the story. Yeah. And also there's the ideas of celibacy, and then there's the reality of it. And again, this is the coexistence of relative and absolute. Celibacy isn't just a matter of sexual contact. It also applies to our relationship with ourselves. It also applies to our thought processes. It applies to our interactions with the environment. It's to be able to. It's a commitment and an idea that gives, or it's a commitment that gives us an opportunity to really look at the world from different angles of perceptions. Look at the sort of narratives that drive our lives, and how important are they really? Like that. Question. Nathan, and then Natalie.
What do the scrolls behind you say?
Actually, out there, I don't remember. I haven't memorized them.
Okay.
But out there, there's a translation of them.
Okay.
Above the door.
What's that?
Above the door.
Above the door.
Oh, okay.
There's a translation of this one.
Yeah.
On the right. On the left is a translation of these two, and they're marked.
Okay.
But they're marked as if you were looking at them. So left as if you were looking at it, right as if you were looking at it. So this would be right, and that would be left.
I'll take a look.
Yes. And Natalie.
Have you ever come across a situation where the world was telling you quite opposite things, and how then did you figure out which was the right thing?
Well, I stopped trying to figure it out. The world's telling me, look, what did I hear the statement? If in the course of a day, 3 people call me a horse, I better get a saddle. And then I heard another saying, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, the chances are pretty likely that it's a duck. So I pay attention. Yeah? But the question is the world telling me something, or do I think the world's telling me something? There's where the friction is. And so this is really the heart of practice for me, because in the silence and in the stillness, I developed the capacity to be able to watch my mind, watch the thoughts without rejecting them or attaching to them or dwelling on them. Yeah. I get to watch them. I get to watch how my brain produces all this stuff. I get to experience different feelings, and I don't have to act on any of those things. I can experience them, have them, and then watch how time unfolds. This is where the patience comes in for me. Watch how time just sort of reveals truth. I don't have to decide what's true or not. The world and my actions will show that to me, if I'm willing to accept that. Question?
I have noticed that observing something is different than doing something. I mentioned that with putting on the kesa, right?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But then I really wonder how much value is there in observing if there's such a huge discrepancy between kind of the real action and just looking at something.
But there's not a huge discrepancy.
No?
No. I mean, for example, I can sit in the kitchen over at House 18 and I can think about removing the kitchen cabinets. They're not going to get done unless I take them out, right? So, but when for example, when I was studying, even before my novice ordination, when I was involved in this process, I watched someone do something. I learned from that, and then I put what I've watched into practice. So I pay attention. Like the first time, I had never done the doan. And they said, okay, you're doing the doan. I went, all right. I went in, sat down, looked at the paper, and they said, that's a bell and that's a gatsu. And I went, okay. And just followed instructions. I didn't think about it. I didn't miss a beat. They said, okay, now, see, when we do the Kanramon at ZCL, at our home temple, we have a taiko drum, boom, boom, boom. We have conch shells, woo, cymbals. Because there's all, it's when there are different places where you do all that stuff. And so they said, okay, you need to do taiko drum. I said, okay. I said, show me how to do it. They showed me once, and then I did it. It's watching, paying attention, and then putting what I observed into action best I could. And I tell you, it's like, I was just the best taiko drummer. No one else could do it right. Except they had a Japanese monk. And I tell you, I learned some tricks from this guy. He was slick. Yeah, he was throwing some little extra things he'd stick in there. And I went, okay. But see, that I didn't know you could do that. He sort of gave me permission. But that was through observing. And then I take what I observe, incorporate it, and put it into action. Question? Patrick?
There's 3 different hairstyles on the altar, 2 different, and a hijab. Are all 3?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
3 different hair?
Yeah, there's cornrows, bald, and a hijab.
Well, no, actually it's not a hijab. No, it's just a scarf. There's a difference between a scarf and a hijab.
And the earlobes as well. What's that about?
Well, the truth is, I know what I know what the stories say. My guess is that because the guy was a prince, he probably had 2 heavy earrings.
Wow.
And they just stretched his ears out.
Oh, wow.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't think about those things. The cornrows may not be cornrows. That may be just a hat.
That's a hat. Okay.
It could be. I don't know. And bald is bald. Yeah. Well, it may not be bald. It may be shaved. I don't know. But what they say is that the earlobes had something to do with a sign of enlightenment. It may have been a birth defect.
Has to do with what?
It was a symbol of an enlightened or a transcendent being.
Wow.
However, it may have just been a birth defect.
So I should start hanging stuff on my ears?
Questions? Yes, Miosen.
So when you spontaneously did such a task like playing the drum or go with the door, have you not been afraid to make a mistake?
No. It's like I don't necessarily look forward to it, but mistakes are not a big deal. Mistakes are an opportunity for me. I don't look at them as something not okay. I look at them as an opportunity. I make a mistake once. I make a mistake, somebody shows me the mistake I made, and I won't make it again. Just end of story. Because I can't know everything. However, if I'm really paying attention, really paying attention, I won't make those mistakes. Because I'll be seeing how other people do it. Now, if somebody says, oh, you made a mistake, then it's because the person in front of me that I was observing made that mistake and I was simply replicating it. Yeah, like that. But it's about observing and then being able to take that information and convert that into action. But if I'm not really paying attention, if I'm just going through the motions, then I won't really absorb what's actually going on. I won't pay attention. So I don't pay attention, I pay attention to everything that's going on. I don't just pay attention to like one thing, and I don't get easily distracted because I really want to learn. It's important to me to learn. It's important to me to see how things are done, to do them the way they are done, and then to see what is generated out of that for me. I don't sit around and decide, oh, I don't think I really want to do that. It's not necessary. I won't do that now. I did everything that everyone else did. I just totally put myself into it. And then once I do that, then I have an opportunity to experience what, if anything, all this means. I don't think about stuff all that much. I just don't. It's just, I don't know where it came. I quickly became aware that it was just a waste of time to think about a lot of stuff. I see it, I do it. And then through the doing, I discover what it has to offer me, if anything. Yeah? Question? Peter, Yoshin, and Nathan.
Can you talk about the process of designing and building this zendo, and how much, whether you hired contractors?
I did all the work.
And who did you ask for help?
Other people in the community.
You designed it, you built it?
No design.
How did you know to make this symmetrical?
No, this was really a flat roof. Yeah?
Was the structure here previously?
No, yeah, it was just, the structure was here. This was a 2-car carport. And what I did is it was open from right about where Myoshin's sitting to that wall in the corner. That was all open. And there were 2 posts there. So what I did is I just closed it in. And I wanted windows, so I put some windows in there. I thought it would be good to have a door, handicapped accessible. I have had people here with wheelchairs. So they can come right in there. I don't know, it just, I let the space talk to me. Like that. When it came to this, so there were rafters come along, and I knew a person who was an architect and at the same time an engineer, so he could design the plans and he could certify them. So I just had him come by and look out and say, look, I want to take this out of here. He said, oh yeah, just take it out. It's okay. Those rafters aren't supporting anything. Then you want to be really safe, then you just put these plates up there. And I went, okay, thanks. So I just put plates up on these rafters, up on where the rafters hit the joists, I put metal plates there, as was suggested. I cut out the rafters and nothing, it didn't even flex. He said it wasn't necessary, but I said, okay, I'll do it anyway. Better safe than sorry.
So no drawings? No drawings?
Okay. Did we have one?
Not one. No, not one. Mm-mm. The bathroom was already there, but the interview room wasn't there. I just built a wall. I didn't know much about tiling. Oh, I didn't know anything. Well, that's not true. I didn't know much about it. And there was a person who I was supporting. He knew how to do that work, so he helped me. We did it together. The floor and the walls. And the floor entryway and the walls and the shower, also the shower. And he and I worked together and put this floor in. But all the brickwork outside, I had a guy that, his name was Bob Leslie. Bob, he was a builder, but if I had questions, I could just ask him. I didn't put the heating system in. I had someone else do that. And then I took this heating system that was in that room and moved it upstairs, but I had HVAC people do that. Yeah, no plan. The porch, originally it wasn't there, and then in the early days. Oh, by the way, this is the 25th year that we've done one of these transition retreats this year. So the porch out there wasn't there on the side, and when people would walk in, there wasn't a walkway either. So they'd track in sand and stuff, and I said, I need a walkway and a porch. They built a walkway and a porch. Just Kenshin did the most of this walkway here, that runs from here to 9. She did most of that, and I finished it up down here, the end parts. And the porch, Bob said, "Here's what you do," and I said, "Okay," and I just did it. I was better, like the window in the Dyson room, the window in the Dyson room, I'd never put one in before. I just cut this thing into the brick. I just rented a saw and cut it in, and it worked. I'm like, I do better when I don't really know what I'm doing the first time, because if I've done it once before, then I start thinking too much about it. But it worked perfect. This is the first door I ever put in right there, that double door. Took me all day to do it, but it's been there for 25 years. Works great. We have 2 more questions, so we're actually out of time, but I'll take them anyway. Myoshin.
Do you remember where in the Kanraman the drum came in?
Yeah. No maku-san, dabu-nan-ban, no maku-san. Yes, that's where they use a taiko drum. It's a bit much. I don't do it here. It's a bit much of a taiko drum in here, And also, the place where you go, Om-san, that's where you do the conch shell and the cymbals. So it's like this, because you're waking up the hungry ghost. Yeah. That's the way they do it. And I have done it outside before. At that part, use whistles, but then I stopped doing that because, in some places when you blow a whistle, you're asking for help from the police. So I didn't want to create a scene. Yeah. I didn't want to unnerve anyone. Yeah. So it's also being aware of my environment and circumstances. Nathan.
Has the way you've done the services changed at all over the years, or do you do them exactly as you got them?
Oh, I can never do them exactly as I got them. I mean, the forms and the movements and everything, I do them as I was taught. So I'm taught to do them this way, I do them the way I was taught. However, they are, I can't do them the way the person who taught me does them, because I'm not that person. but I can do what they taught me to do. And I don't try to put my own spin on things. I just, they say, this is how you do this, and this is how you do this, and so I did that. But I don't do it like they do. That's why when I watch, I understand that people are not going to do it the way I do it. But I want them to do what they're taught to do. And then I watch, are they doing what they were taught to do or not? Yeah, because I know people do it just a little bit different. But there are certain elements that they need to really be there, like that. And if they're not there, I don't ever curse at someone. Never. Anymore. No, I tell you, in the early days, I was when I was rather new at this, I was more harsh than I've just learned other ways. I've learned other ways to do it, but it's sometimes still. I tell someone, please do this, and they don't, and I'll say again, or I'll say, please don't do this, and they'll do it, and I'll say one more time, please don't do this. They keep doing it, and I go, look, if you keep doing that, I'm going to call you out publicly. But please don't do it. And I don't ask them, it's not about me, but it's about how their actions affect the community and the service we're doing. And if they continue, I'll call them out publicly. Yeah. But I've already given them a heads up, so they know it's coming. It's their choice.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.